Good morning, children. Welcome back to our social studies class. Today, we are going to discuss third chapter in history, that is ruling the countryside. Before we start this class, let's have a kind of brief outline as to understand the hierarchy of the countryside. So first we'll have villagers, the ryots in the village headman, the senior villagers in the village, Jamindars, they are the landowners in the village. So in the same way, there are three systems in the settlements. That is, permanent settlements talked about Jamindars, Mahalwari settlement focused village headman, and Raitwari settlements focused on ryots or the farmers. So this system of hierarchy followed in India, and superseding these, the Britishers tried to impose power for collecting the revenue from the different sources. Britishers initially started permanent settlements, then opposed to that Mahalwari system in North India and Raitwari system in South India. That we can understand as we move forward in our topic. Children, in the previous chapter, already we discussed about the Diwani. That is, in the Battle of Buxar, our Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II gave the British the Diwani of Bengal. That is, Diwani means right to collect revenue. So first we are going to discuss how did the East India Company use the authority of the Diwani. On 12th August 1765, the East India Company became the chief financial administrator of Bengal after being granted the Diwani of the region under Robert Clive. With the grant of the Diwani, the East India Company had to manage land and organize revenues beside ensuring its own trade. Even after becoming the Diwan, the main interest of the East India Company was trade, business. Its primary intention was to earn huge revenue, and it had no interest in setting up regular systems of assessment and collection. The East India Company worked towards maximizing its revenues and minimizing the purchase rates of cotton and silk cloth. Means purchase price is less and earning means profits. It started earning more profit. Before the year 1765, the company used to pay for the purchase of goods in India in gold and silver imported from Britain. Means before the year 1765, the East India Company used to pay gold and silver coins to India. But now the company could fund the purchase goods for export using the large amount of revenue collected in Bengal. Means whatever revenue collecting in the Bengal, that is only they are paying, and the East India Company is not getting any silver or gold coins from Britain. It stopped getting, means whatever revenue they are earning in Bengal, that is only they started paying. It demanded large revenues from peasants and forced the artisans to sell their goods to the company at very cheap rates. Peasants means poor farmers. Artisans means the people who make things, skilled things with their hand children. So they started forcing them to sell the goods, whatever the goods they are making, that they should sell to the company at a very cheap rate. And so this caused the peasants and artisans to migrate, means they start to move from their villages. And this consequently led to the decrease in the production of artisanal goods and agricultural crops. Soon the economy of Bengal began to collapse. Furthermore, in the year 1770, Bengal was struck by terrible famine. Famine means scarcity of food, which killed 10 million people, that is about 1/3 of Bengal's population. So next, we are going to discuss about what new systems did the East India Company devise to raise revenues. The East India Company devised three systems to raise the revenues. That is the permanent settlement, the Raitwari system and the Mahalwari system. Now first we are going to discuss about the permanent settlement. The permanent settlement is also known as Jamindari system. Here Jamindar is the owner of the land and he is having the right to collect taxes from peasants. And this permanent settlement was implemented in the areas Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. And whatever the land the Jamindar is having, it is divided into 11 parts. 1 by 11 it belongs to Jamindar and the rest part will go to English East India Company. That is 10 by 11 will be under the control of English East India Company. This revenue is permanent, fixed. In the year 1793, Cornwallis was the Governor General of India and he introduced the system called permanent settlement. Under the permanent settlements, Jamindars were given the responsibility of collecting rent from peasants and paying revenue to the company. The main idea behind the system was to ensure continuous flow of income to the company and also encourage the Jamindars to invest in the improvement of land. It was also assumed that with the fixed revenue, the Jamindar would gain from growth in agricultural output. However, problems arose with the permanent settlement. The company noticed that Jamindars did not make any investment to improve the quality of land. In fact, some of them they failed to pay the very high revenues. Due to this, the company took away the Jamindari right from the Jamindars because 10 by 11 they have to give English East India Company. So who failed to pay that, what the East India Company they did? They have taken the land from the Jamindar and sold the land in auction. Auction means, children, it's a public sale where the items are sold to the person who offer more money. That is auctions, children. In the early 19th century, conditions improved due to an increase in market prices and a gradual expansion of cultivation taken place. As a result, the income of Jamindars grew, but the company's income did not increase due to the fixed revenue. Still, Jamindars did not show an interest in investing land improvement techniques. While few Jamindars lost lands, others saw the opportunity to earn profits without risking any investment. They just wanted tenants to cultivate their land and pay rent. Who is this tenant? Tenant is a farmer, children. The meaning of tenant is a person who pays money to the owner. So Jamindar is the land owner and the farmer is the tenant. In contrast, tenants felt that the system was highly oppressive as they had to pay high rents for the land they had no rights on. Because the farmer had to pay money to the Jamindar, landowner, and they had to pay money to the English East India Company. And the farmer, he is not having any land, he is cultivating the crops, and again he had to pay more money to the landowners. So tenants usually took loans from the money lenders to pay the rent. However, if they failed to pay the rent, they were expelled from the land and that had been cultivating for ages. Means, if suppose the tenant means the farmer had failed to pay the rent, means they are expelled, means they are forced to leave the land which they are cultivating from years. So next we are going to discuss about the Mahalwari system. And what next move could be done to increase the revenue we are going to discuss now. The East India Company had introduced Mahalwari system in the northwest of India and Raitwari system in the south of India. First we are going to discuss Mahalwari system. Mahalwari means village. This system was introduced in the year 1822 by Mackenzie. East India Company decided that there will be no Jamindar involved in giving the revenue to East India Company. So how the work has to be done? Under this system, it has to be done by the villagers. So the unit of taking revenue was fixed at the village. Children, every village has a lot of land. So the British officers surveyed out these villages. First, they figured out what are the geographical conditions of the village. They figured out what are the economic conditions of the village and also what are the rituals associated with the village. Then they figured out how much revenue should be fixed on it depending on the size of the land. On the basis of all these factors, the final fixing of revenue was made. All these factors are taken into consideration. And also there was another decision that was made here that the land revenue will be revised. And means it will be changed, children. The company, the period, how much it was fixed, after that it will be changing. Means Jamindar is the owner of the land and he will be collecting the land revenue, the fixed amount he will be collecting and he will be paying to the East India Company. Here the land revenue was revised and it was not fixed. According to the market price, it will be changing. The village, the head of the village is headman and he will be taking care of the village. And this headman will be collecting the revenue and he will be giving it to the East India Company children. So the Britishers, they thought this system will be successful. How means they thought there is no strong mediator like Jamindar in the permanent land settlement. Here no such strong mediator. So this system will be successful. They thought this system is not a corrupted one and this is going to be a successful. But Mahalwari system is also a failure children, because the land revenue is continuously increasing and the land production was not so much to fulfill the demands of the East India Company. Land revenue is changing and whatever the production they are getting on the land, it is not increasing. So this system is also a failure children. Next, we are going to discuss about Raitwari system. Rayot means cultivator or peasants. Raitwari system was initiated by Alexander Reed and he decided to initiate this system in the region where Tipu Sultan ruled. Why means children, after the defeat of Tipu Sultan, that region was directly under the control of British. The Raitwari system was further developed by Thomas Munro and came to be known as Munro system. Thomas Munro was the governor of Madras Presidency between the year 1820 and 1827. Thomas Munro introduced this system in Bombay, Madras and some parts of Assam. The East India Company thought that Raitwari system will be successful because there is no hierarchical strong Jamindar rule. And in Raitwari system, there will be direct point of contact with the Rayots, who is the tiller of the land. The Jamindars will be eliminated and the rent was collected directly from the Rayots. Created individual land ownership rights for the Rayots. And the rent was supposed to be fixed for the each Rayot and each field, and also the choice was given to the Rayot to either accept or reject the government's offer. However, this did not happen. The company officials fixed the rent randomly and also forcibly extracted more rent from the Rayots. Thus, the system proved to be highly oppressive for the Rayots. Means it's very hard or difficult. Soon after introducing the new systems, the company realized that they were not as effective as intended. With the aim of increasing income from land, revenue officials had set very high revenue demands. Unable to meet these high demands, the ryots migrated from the countryside and many villages were deserted, means they vacated children. The new systems were expected to convert poor ryots into rich farmers, but they failed to do so. Children, this Raitwari system is also not successful. The only reason was that there was no change in revenue, and despite many factors affecting revenue like drought, too much rains, destruction of the crop, many factors are there, but none of them were taken into consideration, and this also created problem, and the ryots could not afford to pay the land revenue. So, why did the Indian cultivators have to produce crops for Europe? Over the years, the East India Company understood that the Indian countryside was not only the source of huge land revenue but also a resource for the production of crops that were in high demand in Europe. Means East India Company realized that India was not only a source of land revenue, but they can also produce the crops whatever they required in Europe, children. Towards the end of 18th century, the company made all the efforts to expand opium and indigo farming. Opium is a powerful drug that is made from the seeds of a poppy flower, children, and indigo is a dye obtained from the indigo plant. Dye means it's a coloring agent. Since then, for about 150 years, the British forced the Indian cultivators to grow tea in Assam, sugarcane in Uttar Pradesh, jute in Bengal, rice in Chennai, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, and wheat in Punjab. The East India Company used various methods to expand the cultivation of these crops, children. And now we are going to discuss about indigo crop, which had a huge demand in European markets. Indigo is a dye obtained from the indigo plant, which mainly grows in the tropical region. Indigo plant will be growing in the tropical region. Tropical region means where the climate is hot and wet. So that climate is suitable for indigo plants. Indian indigo was used for textile dyeing, means cloth coloring, in Britain, France and Italy since as early as 13th century, much before the East India Company was set up. Before the East India Company set up, they started using Indian indigo, Britain, France and Italy. However, only small amounts reached these countries due to its high price. So the Europeans had to use the dye from a plant called oud. So the Europeans, what they did, because of high price, they started using a dye which they are getting from the oud plant. Oud means it is a yellow flowered European plant, children, and it was used as a source of blue dye. This oud plant was easily available in Europe because this plant grows only in the temperate region. Temperate means where the climate is neither very hot nor very cool, means moderate. European cultivators grew oud in Italy, France and in the parts of Germany and Britain. Due to stiff competition from indigo producers, oud producers in Europe persuaded their governments to ban the import of indigo. There is a competition between indigo producers and oud producers. So, oud producers in Europe, they have forced their government to ban the import of indigo. But the people already they started using indigo, and now they started using oud. They have observed the color from the oud was dull and it could not match the rich blue color of Indian indigo. So in the 17th century, the cloth manufacturers in Europe demanded the relaxation of the ban on indigo import. So again, they have requested the government to relax the ban on indigo import. And indigo plantation started in different parts of the world, children. The onset of industrialization in Britain by the end of 18th century brought in a huge demand for indigo, means demand for indigo increased in Britain. With Britain expanding its cotton production, the demand for dyes grew dramatically. Means Britain it started producing more cotton, so the demand for dye also increased. However, during this time, the supply of indigo from America and West Indies almost came to an end. And indigo production in the world fell by half between 1783 and 1789. Means indigo production decreased, children, and it reduced by half. So the British dyers had to urgently search for new sources of indigo. So they started searching who could produce indigo for them, because the supply of indigo was decreased. So when they are searching who could supply indigo, that time they had turned towards India and they made India a supplier of indigo. Who made? Britishers. They made India a supplier of indigo. Next we are going to discuss how India became a supplier of indigo. To meet the excessive demand for indigo in Europe, the company tried to extend the area under cultivation. Means there was a more demand for indigo in Europe, so the East India Company started increasing more area for indigo cultivation, children, and it also encouraged indigo farming in Bengal. By the late 18th century, Bengal witnessed huge growth in indigo cultivation, and indigo from Bengal became famous throughout the world. The share of Indian indigo in the total indigo import of Britain increased from 30% in the year 1788 to 95% in the year 1810. This prompted company officials and commercial agents to invest in indigo production. Means the people who is doing business, they started investing in indigo production. Why? Because they can earn more money. And many company officials left their jobs and took to indigo plantation. The company officials, they left their jobs and they started growing indigo crops because they can earn money. Indigo cultivation offered such high profits that many Scotsmen and Englishmen were drawn to India to become the planters. So the people from the outside the country were also came to India and became the planters of indigo. If required, they could even avail loans for indigo cultivation from the company and banks, which were being newly set up during that time. Means that time whoever is starting the indigo plantation, for them not only the bank, children, even the East India Company also started giving loans to increase the indigo production in India. Because we have already discussed, there is a lot of demand for indigo in Europe, so they want indigo. So that is the reason they turned towards India and they made India as a supplier of indigo. So they have to increase indigo production in India. For that reason, what they did, they started giving loans to the people whoever is doing the indigo production to increase the children. Why the people they never grown this indigo? Means indigo is a plantation crop, whereas that time the people used to grow only food crops. But then with the Britishers' force, they started growing in. There are two systems of indigo cultivation, that is Nij and Raiti. They were being practiced in colonial India. Means when the Britishers were ruling that time, they used Nij and Raiti cultivation to grow indigo in India, children. Nij constituted less than 25% of total land under indigo cultivation, and Raiti constituted 75% of total land under indigo cultivation. But children, most of the indigo grown in India was through the Raiti system only. Okay, first we are going to discuss about Nij cultivation. Under Nij cultivation, planters grew indigo on lands under their own control. They the planters purchased or rented land from Jamindars and hired laborers to work on it. But they find very difficult to expand indigo plantation under Nij system. Indigo cultivation needed fertile lands, children, but most of which were already densely populated, means thick population. And it also required a large compact area, close area, while only some scattered plots of land were available. How to deal with the situation. So the planters, what they did, they tried to get the area around the indigo factories on rent by evicting the peasants from their lands. Means what the planters they did, they forcibly they make the farmers to leave their lands. But they failed to do this. Why they failed to do this means the farmers started protesting it. They were very angry and they started protesting. So not only this, student, another problem is there. What is that means? The time for the indigo cultivation coincided with the rice cultivation. Means the same time indigo and rice cultivation taken place. So it became very difficult for the planters to arrange labor for large scale indigo cultivation, because most of the labor were engaged in the rice cultivation, children. We have already discussed that indigo and rice. Indigo is a plantation crop and rice is a food crop. So the farmers, they will be growing food crops only. So for the planters it became very difficult to arrange the labor for indigo cultivation. Not only this, children, a large number of plows and bullocks were also needed for the large indigo plantation. 2 plows were needed for an indigo plantation of size 1 biga. What is this word biga? Biga is the measurement of land, children. So the Britishers, they have taken 1/3 acre of the land is biga. So 2 plows were required for 1 biga. Suppose if a planter is having 100 bigas of land, 100 bigas. So how many plows he required? He required 200 plows. If he requires 200 plows, means a lot of investment was involved in the purchase and the maintenance of the plows. So all this, it was difficult to get plows and bullocks from the peasants who needed them in the rice fields at the same time. Means the planters are not able to get the plows because the farmers were engaged in the rice cultivation. So the plows and the bullocks they are not able to get in the indigo farming, children. So this system, it became a failure. So next we are going to discuss about rayoti cultivation. Under this system, cultivators or ryots were forced to sign an agreement or a contract with planters. If ryots protested, the village headman was forced to sign the agreement on the behalf of the ryots. Headman means who will be taking care of the village children. Once the agreement was signed, the ryots were given loans at low interest rate. So after the agreement was signed, they used to get the loan at a very low interest rate. Along with loans, the ryots were also given seeds and machinery to cultivate indigo crops. However, after taking the loan, they were compelled, means they were forced to use at least 25% of the total area for indigo cultivation. The rayoti system of cultivation also had its share of problems. Though means initially they have given at a very low interest rate. For the ryots it was very attractive. But even then also they could not repay the loans. Why they are not able to repay the loan means they use this indigo crop, it is not getting a good price, children. Means only the East India Company used to buy from them at a very less price they used to buy. So the farmer is not getting that much amount what had taken the loan. Moreover, the crops were delivered, they were given fresh loan, and in this way the loan cycle continued. Means again they used to get the new loan. After the crop was delivered, they used to get the new loan, and that old loan used to be like that and new loan used to continue. So loan cycle. To make matters worse, they were unable to grow rice in their fields after an indigo harvest. Means they were forced to grow indigo. The indigo crop left the land barren and unusable for growing other food crops. Means the soil became infertile to grow food crops, children. Therefore, indigo cultivation proved to be unprofitable for the ryots. Not only that, the cultivators were unable to repay the loans and were stuck in a cycle of debt, children. So next we are going to discuss about how did indigo cultivators revolt and what were the consequences. a revolt took place in Bengal in March 1859, subsequent to the famous 1857 mutiny. Means 1857, a great revolt had taken place. So this 1859 revolt is subsequent to the famous 1857 mutiny. Thousands of ryots started a rebellion against indigo cultivation, which later came to be known as Blue Rebellion or Indigo Revolt. Rebellion means fighting against authority or refusing to accept the rules. Ryots armed with spears, bows, arrows and swords attacked against indigo factories and planters. Ryots were joined by women folk armed with kitchen implements, means kitchen tools. Means women also taken part in the Indigo Rebellion with using kitchen tools. The ryots refused to pay back the loans taken from the planters, and the ryots attacked their agents called Gomatsas. Gomatsa means a paid servant appointed by East India Company to check the indigo plantation work. The ryots had a support of their village headman and zamindars, who gave the courage to revolt. Many headmen were unhappy with being forced to sign the contracts by the planters. The beginning of the Blue Rebellion, just 2 years after the Great Revolt of 1857, worried the British as they were not ready for yet another revolt or another rebellion, because already the Great Revolt had taken place in the year 1857. Even though Indians were, means they lost the revolt, means Indians were defeated in the revolt, but that is the first war of independence, children. So Britishers were worried and they don't want to face another revolt like that, another revolt like 1857. However, the rebellion soon spread, and in the winter of 1859, the lieutenant governor set out on a tour of the region. The ryots perceived this gesture as a support from the British government. The magistrate of Barsat, Ashley Eden, issued a notice to the planters asking them not to force the ryots to sign the indigo contracts. Children, in the year 1860 April, all the farmers in the Barsat division of the districts of Nadia and Pabna went on a strike and refused to grow indigo. So the Ashley Eden, he is a judge. Magistrate means judge. So he had given one notice to the planters asking them not to force any ryot to sign the indigo contract. By doing this, he was actually trying to create some goodwill and control the rebellion or suppress the rebellion. However, the ryots saw this support for the rebellion. With the spread of the rebellion, many intellectuals from Calcutta visited indigo districts and wrote about the pathetic conditions of the ryots and despotic ways of the indigo farmers. Means many intellectuals started writing about the situation of indigo cultivators. So by this, many people came to know about the grievances of the indigo cultivators. The rebellion also prompted the government to bring in the military to safeguard the planters and to set up Indigo Commission to investigate further into the situation. The commission held planters guilty and asked them not to force the ryots to sign any new contracts. After the Blue Rebellion, indigo production in Bengal collapsed, means started falling down, and the indigo planters shifted their base to Bihar. From Bengal, they shifted their base to Bihar. Moreover, synthetic dye were discovered during late 19th century. Now, so they discovered a new dye, that is from synthetic fiber. The discovery of the synthetic fiber, they led a competition between indigo and synthetic, and not only that, it adversely affected the business of indigo planters. However, the planters were somehow able to expand their production. It was during this period that Gandhiji returned from South Africa. In the year 1917, Gandhiji visited Champaran in Bihar and, moved by the plight of the ryots, initiated a movement against the indigo planters and which came to be known as the Champaran movement. So with this, we completed this chapter, children. Let's recall the important points that we discussed in this chapter. How did the East India Company use the authority of the Diwani? What new systems did the East India Company devise to raise revenues? That is, permanent settlements, Raitwari system, Mahalwari system. Why did the Indian cultivators have to produce crops for Europe? That is, we discussed about India as supplier of indigo. How was indigo cultivated? Nij cultivation and Rayoti cultivation. How did the indigo cultivators revolt and what were the consequences? That is indigo rebellion.